for the administration. Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have here tonight Rick Metz from uPublic, and I had a couple of questions for him. And also I have a couple of questions for JD, who was with ProView Network, and maybe, Mr. Perry, you can help me answer some of these questions. Yes, sir. But one of the concerns I had, I've been watching the public station and uPublic, and one of the things that they promised this council when they were here making their presentation is a lot of the programs would still be intact. And ProView Network provided some great sporting events of young kids, and a lot of those games were televised on TV. Those are no longer there. I know that you can still get online and look at ProView Network and see the games online. But for many of our young kids, it was great that they could go, if they didn't make the game, they could watch the game if they had Comcast on public television. And it was just a real asset, I think, to our community and to our young kids. And we no longer have that. And I was just wondering why uPublic no longer is televising those games.
Mr. President, Councilor Sanchez, I have very good news to report on uPublic, and directly related to your questions. uPublic is trying to form a sports partnership with several entities, being the Albuquerque Public Schools, the University of New Mexico, and other youth leagues. And UNM basically has what are called Olympic sports. They're major sports being basketball and football. The media rights associated with them have significant value, but as you may know, there's been problems with the contract. There's no more Mountain West, and a lot of the local games that aren't on a national affiliate, ESPN, ESPN2, CBS Sports Properties, and the like, those games are published on Fox 50 nowadays. Well, what uPublic's trying to do is develop basically a sports model on a separate channel, basically, where they would provide a lot of different sports programming, including those local high school games that uPublic had traditionally done. I think it's important to recognize that when uPublic does their broadcast, they're basically an internet broadcaster that you could, they would produce the products and the broadcast of the sports activity or competition, and that they would be put on television vis-a-vis the city's Comcast franchise. But we did ask uPublic to increase their production abilities. And with sports, a lot of different things come into play. In order to film football games or basketball games, there's specialty types of cameras and lenses that are used for that to get the production quality up to broadcast quality, basically. And they've been working a little bit in trying to do that. We had a meeting with Councilor Winter and uPublic and ProView, JD, and we asked those folks to go back and to try to make some progress to see how ProView fits in to the overall sports broadcasting that uPublic is attempting to do. And we think that there's definitely opportunities, and Mr. Metz can perhaps address these in a little bit more detail, but that they will be doing that particular component of the broadcasting. Again, I think there's some equipment issues, production quality that uPublic would like to see ProView come up to, so that we have, a top quality television production product to put on the air. And this isn't the internet broadcasting anymore that you get streaming, kind of poor video quality and the like. And I know that the IPEG committee has authorized the funding for some of that equipment, basically, too. So hopefully we'll end up with a more robust, larger product that serves more of the sports community here in Albuquerque, including collegiate sports, and that the local high school sports would be handled by ProView through uPublic. That's what we're envisioning.
Well, doesn't currently Comcast have two networks that are just basically black right now?
That's correct.
Couldn't we allow ProView Network to utilize one of those black networks to go on the air, to start televising? I mean, it just does not have to be high school sports. They can go in and televise and broadcast, the band competitions for APS. They can go in and maybe do some of the productions, some of the arts in the schools, the plays. I mean, they can stream that 24/7. I mean, if we're not
Well, you
utilizing...
could do that. I mean, you could authorize me to go out there and take a 8mm video camera and do that. But I think what we're trying to do is have a good quality product and have it integrated into the overall, association of the Albuquerque, broadcasting.
Well, I didn't think the product last year when these games were televised was bad. And now we have nothing. And I think if we're really trying to promote our high school kids, if we go in and start promoting band competitions, I think it would be good for this community to be able to watch those, especially if they don't have that opportunity to get to that competition or go to that game. But we don't need the very, very best quality. It'd be nice if we could have it. But if they're willing to do it and they've got the equipment to take care of it, we should support that.
Well, we certainly will look at that, but I think also, what we're trying to do is use the city's contractor, uPublic, as the go-between for producing things that are going to be on the Albuquerque City franchise channels. That's important. I think a lot of folks could come up and say, well, I'd like to have my daughter's dance recitals done, and I can get people to videotape it and the like. Probably not the direction we want to go in. I understand that it's a little different when you look at, high school sports, and ProView has done an excellent job, in my opinion, and I'm a fan of expanding broadcast into those high school sports and other local sports and local events that you described, band competitions and the like. But I think it needs to probably be done in conjunction with uPublic so that we have a certain degree of control over it.
Well, I mean, if they do it with uPublic, say ProView Networks works out a deal through uPublic, since they do have the contract with the city, couldn't they utilize that additional station that's not being currently utilized through Comcast? I mean, the two stations are just open. Well,
I think they could, absolutely. But at the same time, one of the stations was included in the contract. I think it's 26 and 27.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, we can always go back and modify that contract. Is that correct?
After the term of the contract, I imagine that's a possibility. During the duration of it, there's particular terms as far as exclusivity of use and the like may apply.
And we have a contract with uPublic that we paid how much, or we're going to be paying how much?
Is the contract?
Correct.
Probably have to have Mr. Metz come down. I think about $275. $22,500 a month.
And one other question I've got for Mr. Metz, Rick, the one question I also had was regarding Nani Sanchez. She had a show on quote unquote when they had the contract, and basically it dealt with the disabled in our community. Mm-hmm. And I don't see that she's on the air at this time either. What's going on there?
So we've reached out to her 2 or 3 times, and via email, phone, that type of thing, in person, and they haven't followed up. So I don't know if they lost interest in the show, but she's definitely welcome, and we have made an extra effort to reach out to her.
And also regarding this issue with ProView Network and televising these high school games, because I am getting calls from parents and family members saying, we want to see the kids on TV if we can't make the game, and that's no longer available for them.
Sure. Okay. So some of this ProView may need to comment too, because I think that we've worked out a phase 1 strategy with ProView where we're going to be doing a game of the week, a high school game of the week. Like Mr. Perry was commenting, we are trying to increment the quality up, but that doesn't mean that that can be a process. It doesn't have to be out of the gate. And to that end, some of it is equipment related, which will be resolved in the next week or so. That stuff is coming in, and then our strategy with ProView was to do a game of the week to a little bit higher standard, and then we also already have a couple of sports talk shows, but bigger picture than that. Looking at the whole station, we're looking at doing that with a number of partners like ProView. More talk shows and like Mr. Perry was commenting, not just high school games, but some of the lesser served Lobo sports. So I think that's something that the public would like to see. That's phase 1. Phase 2, more ProView stuff. Sure. I mean, there's more high school games than they can even film and put on the internet. We have even less bandwidth than that. I mean, less inventory, if you would, on television. So they're always going to be able to shoot more games and broadcast more games on the internet than we could ever play on television. So we just have to find a happy medium where, you know, the parents and the students are seeing something, and we want to even those games of the week, we want to rotate through the schools so everyone gets some face time, you know. But, you know, even expanding what we're playing on the station and letting that metamorphose and stuff, that's all part of the plan. And I think that we have a good working relationship with ProView. They can comment on that and verify that. But, you know, was kind of the strategy that we had worked out a couple months ago.
And I'd like to hear from JD and what he has to say, because I really feel that we have an opportunity. If we've got a station that is not being utilized right now that's black, and I think that you basically had the educational channel that's not gone on the air, that's still black.
In essence, this is what the sports channel is becoming. So, I mean, we had programming that when we got the contract that we put on the air immediately. That was what we were prepping for that educational station. But when we got the contract for the other two stations, we kind of juggled everything around. So in the mix, we're still left with a station that was still black, and that's what we've come back with sports. So, and like I said, the gear and stuff for that is has been arriving the last couple of weeks. So that will change.
Did you want to make a comment, JD?
President Lewis and ladies and gentlemen of the council, appreciate the opportunity to speak on our behalf. I feel like saying, "Aw shucks," get my Super 8 out and film some games. We started ProView Networks in October 2008 to do something that nobody else was willing to do, put the kids on the air. We did it on our own nickel, didn't charge a dime, took on the state championships. In the beginning, we did maybe 100 games in a year. We went to Albuquerque Public Schools and says, we could do for you the same kind of thing that we're doing for the New Mexico Activities Association. We'll put your games up. We'll go out there and we'll shoot your games. We won't charge you to do it. And why would we do that? Well, the kids in New Mexico are at a tremendous disadvantage to kids in other states. The more populated states get a lot more attention from recruiters, and therefore those kids get college scholarships that our kids might not get. So if we can give them a higher profile, maybe we'll have a chance of getting our kids a chance at some of those scholarships. Inadvertently, what happened is we realized that all of a sudden, more than recruiters were watching, moms, dads, aunts and uncles, friends and family of the athletes started watching the games. The calls started coming in saying, you know, how come you didn't get my game? How come you didn't get the next game? And since we're not charging for it, we're relying on sponsorship money to do this. We went out and tried to seek other sponsors to see if we could expand our programming. We now shoot almost 700 broadcasts a year of athletics and activities of all youth sports. So that's everything from youth Yaffle football, AYBL basketball. We are the exclusive athletics broadcaster for Albuquerque Public Schools. We're the only ones that can shoot it, and we did that on purpose. If you dilute it and you start to break up, somebody shoots over here and somebody shoots over there, nobody knows where to find it anymore. So we said, we'll do it for you, and we'll do it for you at no charge, but we want to have it in a singular location. The predecessor to uPublic was quote unquote, and they had come to us early on in the game and said, look, we could take your stuff and put it on and show it to people on TV. And we said, you know, we're more than happy to have you do that. We'll share with everybody because it just helps the community to do that. You have to take it and you have to leave our sponsor messages in there. So they did that and they put it up. And for 4.5 years, it worked just fine. uPublic has taken over, and I guess what we're hearing now is that now our quality is not good enough to be on TV, and we'd rather not fight with them over whether or not our quality is good enough for them. It was good enough for 4.5 years for everybody in the community. I get a lot of grief when we go out to games now. The parents go out and go, how come I can't watch this game on TV? Well, I don't own the TV station, you know, so we do what we can. We went and talked to Comcast and asked them about the franchise agreement. And according to Comcast, there are 6 channels available to the city. 4 of them, 26, 27, 16, and whatever TallNet winds up being the 3rd channel that Rick Metz will take over with uPublic, are accounted for. There are 2 that are not accounted for. Our proposal basically to the city is why not allow us at no cost to the city to take over one of those other channels, and we will populate it with 24/7 content. We've got 12,000 hours of broadcasts that we've done, plus we average 11 games a week and 3 shows. We cover a lot of content. We'd like to take it and put it up there so that everybody can continue to enjoy it. We know how to do it. We've done it. I brought actually Joe Abeda is one of our directors. He runs GovTV out of Santa Fe. He built their station. It's the same kind of station that I'm proposing building here. You need a head end from Comcast, which they would provide. All it takes, according to them, all it takes is the city to say, do it. And if the city says do it, they'll give it to us. We'd like that opportunity. We'd like to be able to put that out there, not interfere with whatever their business plan is. We don't want to just do a game of the week. We want to do more. We want to give them, give the community as much as they could possibly stand. And with the kids, that's a lot.
Councilor
Mr. President, JD, what has changed since we had that meeting a few months ago? Has anything changed? You all were supposed to get together and try to work something out. Has anything been worked out?
We did. We sat down and talked about it. The issue was, I guess, equipment to some degree, which still apparently is not available. You know, remember, this has been going on. So we got no, you know, the football season came and went. The basketball season is halfway through.
Okay, I got a question. How many shows are you getting to put on a week?
We
What are you
put
putting on a week?
on TV?
Yes.
We shoot 2 shows in their studios, 2 talk shows in their
Okay,
studios.
are any of the games being put on?
No, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
How come there's no games being put on? After this meeting that we had 2 months ago, basically, Mr. Perry and myself said you guys were going to work it out to make sure it happened. So what happened?
We went downstairs, we had a meeting. What came out of that meeting was that we were going to collaborate on a game of the week. Within a week or so of that, there was a finals game that was going to be the first event that we did together. And I got a call from ProView that said that they were having bandwidth issues from the stadium, and they were concerned that the bandwidth problems there wouldn't support their web stream along with the television stream, because the television stream takes more bandwidth. And I don't know if I talked to you or if I talked to Steve, and the consensus was that we were going to wait until the equipment came in. And resolving the bandwidth issue at all these different venues is something that we have addressed, because there's inconsistent internet connectivity at these locations, and it just doesn't support the television stream and so that's where we left it. I'm hearing a lot of this stuff for the first time as far as wanting another station and stuff, because where we had left it at the end was that we were working together. Phase 1 was going to be that game of the week.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess the point was, and I understand that, but that was, I don't know if that was 2 or 3 months ago, and it seems like nothing has changed from that point. And so Councilor Sanchez has a good point. And so and even the meeting, I just was hearing some rhetoric, and I think I'm still hearing rhetoric. And Mr. Perry, I don't know if anything has changed or if anything is going to change. And if it's going to take maybe the city council getting involved in getting another channel, and I don't know if we can do that or not, but I don't see any changing that has been made since then.
Mr. President, Councilor Winter,
Mr. Perry, quickly.
Councilor Sanchez, I'll take these folks together and we'll have a meeting and find out where we're at. I think that's the best thing to do. Apologize that it hadn't advanced more from that meeting that we had a couple months ago, and I appreciate Councilor Sanchez's interest in it. I also support that if we're can get more profile to the youth sports and activities, that would make sense. Let me see what the options available are. Thank you.
Thanks. Councilor Harris.
Thank you. And looking back at the meeting, when we approved the new contract, I mean, it was a pretty contentious meeting, and as public officials, when we have people coming down here in the numbers that there were, and being as emotional as that there were, I mean, we were kind of asked to take a vote, which is kind of tough for us, and we approved the contract based on the procurement code that was in place. But maybe it's a good idea that maybe they've had it for about 6 months. How long has this new place had the contract? About 6 months now? About 6 or 7 months. Yeah, maybe like in a month. We'll give them a month notice. Why don't we come back and have a presentation about what's going on? What's going on at that station? Because there was a lot of concern that a lot of shows would be dropped, that there would be this corporate feeling, all this other stuff. So
Right.
maybe
I think that's an excellent idea, Mr.
Yeah.
President, Councilor Harris. We had asked for that and received it from Mr. Metz on the IPEG committee, and of course Ms. Mason's on there as well. And you know, can't speak for her, but I was pretty pleased, and I think that if you look at what's out there and what they've been doing, that you might be pretty pleased too, hopefully, because they have taken a lot of initiative to bring about some more local programming and address a lot of the issues that were part of the contention at the last meeting. But I will coordinate that with them and with council staff, and we'll have a presentation.
Okay, and I guess with Council President, and whenever you want to schedule that, but I think in about a month's time might be about enough notice so they can put something good together.
Yes, sir.
Other questions for the administration? We're going to move on to the Journal.